Well, we're actually privileged at the minute because we've got one of my good mates, but a legend from the world of racing, both as a rider and as a team owner and a sponsor. We've got Clive Padgett. Now, Clive, a lot of people are going to know you, and a lot of people know the Khajiit brand and the Khajiit shop, but they probably don't know everything. I know quite a lot about what you do and what you like down there in Batley because I live near and I bought spares off you for any number of race bikes for the last, well, 40 years, I hate to say. So we're going to talk a little bit about Khajiit as a shop and as a brand, and then a little bit about their involvement in racing, and especially the TT, because that's probably nowadays what you're most known for. But I want to start to ask you by asking you about the Khajiit brand. Now, Khajiit's a shop. People can go in there, buy a spark plug for whatever you've got. But also they can buy some fairly trick parts for race bikes going back. Well, my collection goes back probably 30 years, but you're going back way beyond that, aren't you?
Yeah, I think, and I've got Dad and Uncle Don to thank for that. You know, my dad, Peter, and Uncle Don, they took on the Japanese agencies very, very, very around, I would think, 1960 or so, which was, to be fair, was a bold move, because that was like taking, and certainly not knocking the Chinese, but like taking a Chinese brand on now against the Japanese. You know, you've got Matchless, AGS, Norton, Triumph, and you were taking on these little single-cylinder two-strokes that had just come across the water. And Dad tells me the first day he took the Yamaha agency, there were just 3 little motorbikes below an escalator at the show, and he went up on the first day of the show and took the Yamaha franchise. There were 3 dealers took it that day, including Dad. The other 2 are no longer in the industry, unfortunately. So, you know, Dad's the longest Yamaha dealer in the UK, the longest Honda, and the longest Suzuki dealer. It's something to be proud of, you know, really chuffed with what they've achieved.
And the involvement in racing, Don and Pete, your dad and your uncle, were they involved in racing before that? Because somebody sent me an old, I would have thought it'd be a cine film, but then it had been converted onto disc, and they sent me the disc, and it said Batley Motorcycle Club race meeting Cadwell Park 1967, and it's Uncle Don and your dad Pete who were front runners on Yamahas, by the way. So were they interested in racing before before it was a living for them, or not?
Yeah, for sure. And it didn't come from my granda, because my granda wasn't a motorcyclist. I think my dad was the main instigator, and Dad worked when he was 14, left school, went to work at the time a very prominent motorcycle company in Leeds, which was Watson and Cairns. And Mr. Cairns now buys from us. That's the son of the original owner, of course. And I think Dad then, he did several years there, went in the REME because he got national service. And I think when he came out of national service, decided to have a go himself. And he ended up in Batley because it was the only place he could get a franchise. You know, I think AGS was perhaps his first franchise, and they told him that he could, that was the area that got free. So he rented some premises in Batley. Yeah, I believe he bought it something like £280, £300, something like that, to start his business, which I guess was a lot of money back then. You could buy a few motorbikes for that. And, you know, worked his butt off and opened his new showroom. Him and Uncle Don opened the new showroom in 1974, which, of course, as you know, is on Bradford Road, the main one. Yeah.
And the interest in racing for you, we'll touch on your racing history a little bit. I remember in the mid to late 70s, you've been a very young, very talented short circuit rider mostly. I remember you've been maybe I'm going to say top 6, but definitely top 10 GP finisher as a teenager on 350. I think probably your most competitive class.
I think you're really close, Jim, in all of that. Yeah, in my first full season, you're absolutely right. I won the British Championship, which at the time was the youngest ever British champion. Of course, the kids can start younger now. I think I did 14 meetings in 76, and then in 77, won the British Championship, which was Charlie finished second, Charlie Williams finished second. And I didn't even know Charlie had won TTs and things at the time. You don't, as a kid, do you? You just jump on your motorbike and do your bit. And yeah, so my second full season, we went Grand Prix racing, and you rightly say, we finished in top 6 in Grand Prix, which was pretty unheard of as teenagers then. You know, there weren't many of us at it. I think Randy has got strong points. Venezuelan Johnny Cicotto, but there were very few people scored World Championship points as teenagers because you weren't allowed to do it until you were 18, of course. So, but as you know yourself, got cut short when my bike seized in Belgium, and yeah, injuries wouldn't allow that to continue.
No, but you've never lost your interest, and I would have said more, well, less interest and more passion for what you're doing. And since then, I don't think there's been a season when you haven't run a team, either BSB or whatever it was called, then British Championship, TT, Northwest, and all the rest of it. So, I mean, where does this burning kind of passion for the job come from? Because I've been to your place after the shop shut, thinking, well, there might still be a light on, there might still be somebody in the back room, and there's always Clive in the back room building an engine or building a chassis up, or, well, I mean, there's a lot of passion there.
Yeah, I think, in fact, Susan's just chatting in the background there, Jamie. Susan said it's an obsession, not a passion, which I think is even stronger than passion. But I don't know where it comes from absolutely the very, very earliest days. You know, I remember drawing at school motorcycles, and, you know, as a real youngster, 3 and 4 year old, the first things I drew were motorcycles, not flowers and things. And I think the books are still at mum and dad's. So I don't know, it's always been there. And then wanting to go schoolboy scrambling, as it was called back then, and, you know, even to the extent of writing my own letters at 10, 12 year old to enter the meetings and so on, because although Dad's been passionate about it, he wasn't just as passionate about his own lads doing it. He knows it's what we're up to is dangerous. But yeah, 100%. I wake up every morning wanting to go motorcycle racing.
Well, one of the things over the years that the shop's been able to do is supply a lot of people. Most of my mates have raced motorcycles, and all of them, the ones that did race, have always bought the spares at Padgett's, because they know they can go there and you've got what they need. If you need a piston for a TZ350G, even now, you'll have one on the shelf. So that's why people go. But also, you've been trusted by manufacturers, all the manufacturers, certainly Suzuki, Yamaha, and Honda, to supply race bikes. And at times, you've been the only British and sometimes in the world supplier of parts and know-how and equipment for people to go racing. And how did that come about? That's some trust from the Japanese factory.
I think it is some trust, and, you know, with Yamaha, as you say, Dad raced them through the 60s and 70s and so on and so forth. And I think that just probably all fell into place. My dad put that in place. There's no question about that. That, you know, the fact that we were Yamaha's racing distributor. There were only 2 in England, and he also raced Kawasaki's very successful at the same time. And back then, when Mick Grant finished second in the TT on Dad's bike in 1972 on Dad's 500 Kawasaki, I think Agostini won and Pagani was second. Dad was supplying Kawasaki parts then, but of course the Kawasaki era of racing was pretty short-lived in terms of the 2-strokes. I don't think it was around for such a great long time. And as you say, the Suzuki things, yeah, we won the Suzuki BSB. It wasn't called BSB back then. In fact, you were in the championship alongside us, weren't you? With, you know, and yourself and so on. And I think we won, was it in 86 with Mark Phillips?
Mark Phillips in 86 and Darren Dixon 88, I think.
8, that's right. And we were third in 87, if you remember, because the rules changed. We were running the RG 500 2-stroke, and it's 750 against the 500 2-stroke in 86. But it went to the Suzuki's were allowed to run 1100s, if you remember, during the 87 season.
Yeah.
Weren't you on the Durex bikes? Weren't you? Yeah, was it Durex?
No, I was on 87. I run my own bikes, but I think the championship was dominated by people on 1100 and 1000 Yams and 1100 Suzuki's in race chassis. So people like there was Roger Marshall was in there with the factory Suzuki effort on the Skull Bandit bikes, actually.
Yeah, and really, really happy times. And then, as you say, the link with Honda, you know, we've been strongly associated Honda with for a lot of years now. And the first time that I remember us racing Hondas competitively, my brother Gary rode an 85 RS250 at TT.
Yeah, and he won.
And yeah, absolutely, looked fantastic. And then 86, we rode a Honda there again, and Gary was actually leading the 250 race. But the exhaust blew out. We pitted to fit a new pipe and eventually finished 6th. And I think Steve won it. Steve Cole won it. In fact, we're sending Steve some bits at the minute for a TZ500 he's just working on. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll talk about the TT and your involvement in the TT a little bit. You are a passionate TT supporter, that goes without saying, but also you're one of, and this includes all the, let's say, factory teams that are involved over there, mostly manufacturing teams, but in the case of Honda, Honda are heavily involved as a factory and they're passionate about the TT as well. But you have a reliability record at the most demanding mechanically circuit in the world, better than, well, I think all the factory teams. Your bikes do not break down. I think I saw a stat last year that said that your bikes have finished, not only have they won tons, but you've only had probably 2 breakdowns in something like 40 starts. I don't know what the stat is, but it was something silly like that.
That's right, and I think certainly the 2 that I remembered distinctly, the riders, Connor pulled in because his wrist was giving him jip, not because the bike stopped, and Bruce wasn't feeling it and came in for the same reason. He said, you know, I'm just not hitting my apexes, I'm not feeling it today, so I'll back it up then, mate. Come on, if you're not, because we all have a not so great day, don't we?
We do.
So yeah, gosh, you're going back sometime, but yeah.
What difference, Clive, do you see? The TT, I've ridden the TT, I did 4 years of the TT. I know how demanding it is, both physically for a rider, mentally for a rider, more than physically, to be quite honest, but also for the bike. What changes have you seen over there? Now we're going from, you know, a TZ350, let's say, or a TZ750 that was probably half the field will break down, frames cracked, wheels fell apart, exhaust fell off, the bike seized. Nowadays, you've got bikes that have, you know, 230 brake horsepower and generally more reliable, or let's say less stress. They're more under stress these days.
Yeah, I think more under stress, Jamie. But as you say, we've seen the advent of 4-stroke race bikes come back again, as opposed to the 2-strokes. And I think if we were running modern 2-strokes, you know, materials have got better, engineering facilities have got better, things have improved. I don't necessarily think oils have got a great deal better, you know, some great oil back in the day for the 2-strokes still, but I think predominantly fuel injection. It's a lot easier to control what's going in there. The major difference would be, I think, 4-strokes, manufacturing of parts is so much more precise. You know, if you weigh 100 pistons, they're all within a couple of grams, Jamie. The whole process is honed in, and I'm sure that a lot of that comes from better engineering, and of course, as we've said, you know, frame manufacturing. You know, the Delta Box chassis came along. We were no longer looking at tubular steel frames, as you said, that broke and cracked, and the exhaust pipes, everyone's learned, that tucked up a lot more. But I believe one of the key turning points is, you know, fuel injection helped no end. Your bike runs very well down the bottom, you know, along Sulby, and it runs very well up the mountain. Yeah, a good point, but there's a very good finishing rate for most people over there now, isn't there? You can still have the puncture, you can still have the bird through the radiator, you can have the stone through the screen, but engine reliability is much better for everyone, I think.
I was looking, again, I saw another stat I was looking at that said that the TT since 1907 there's only been 3 reasons for the TT to be cancelled, and only 4 times the TT has been cancelled. The reasons are war. So First World War, it didn't run. Second World War, didn't run. I think in about 2000, 2001, foot and mouth, and now COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single time. I mean, another's voice is saying that, you know, the TT is going to have trouble coming back from this, especially when you've got the classic and the actual TT. But we've seen the TT bounce back from most things, including World War. So you wouldn't be worried about it coming back from this, would you?
Well, me personally, no. Just from the reaction of customers, of fans, people saying, "Hey, you know, I've already got booked for next year. I've transferred my booking." I think there are even more people than ever want to go. The general impression, because I get to talk to a lot of people as you do, and no, the island will be full. I think they've done some sort of stats, the government, you know, and there's an awful lot more people want to go than they've been able to absorb, both with ferry bookings, hotels, camping and so on. No, I think we'll see a really strong TT next year. Everyone will be hungry to be there.
What's it like to miss it for you this year? Because I mean, I might be talking out of turn here, but from looking from the outside, it seems to me that the Padgett family's main holiday and passion for the year is at the Isle of Man in May and June.
Yeah, I think sure the island is a high point for anyone. It's for me, it's the single most important motorcycle race in the world right now, and I think the publicity it receives shows that. You know, many years ago, you might remember Daytona was the start of the season, wasn't it? And Daytona was the place to be, and it got such high attendance figures and so on. But I think as a single standalone event, there's nothing beats the TT.
No, I think you're actually right. Over the years, you have had, and just this is completely off the top of my head, some absolutely fantastic, and even if viewers haven't heard of these names, they are, for me, special riders, a lot of them. One of them, Mark Phillips, one of the best riders that didn't make it to the very top level, in my opinion, ability-wise. Mark was fantastic as a rider to race against and just to be around. It was a great look. Career cut short by injury. You've had people like Dave Leach, who people probably won't have heard of unless you're a TT fan, but again, another cracking rider. But Darren Dixon, Roger Marshall.
Sorry, yep.
Go on, carry on.
But yeah, we won the 1,000cc production race in '88 with Dave Leach. Fantastic. And, you know, the captain, Mark Phillips, the guys you mentioned, incredible.
So here's a nasty question for you, right? I'm going to do my Paxman bit now. Out of all these riders, including John McGuinness, including Ian Hutchinson, including Connor Cummins and Bruce, is it fair to ask you who's your favourite rider and who do you think best rider?
I think that is an unfair question because you know, Jay Vincent was on to me last week. You know, I mean, it's 20 years ago since Jay rode with us, but we've still got that special friendship. You know, you raced with us. We've had a friendship for a long time. I think we're very fortunate in that I don't remember ever falling out with a rider or somebody saying, you know, if you look at the amount of time most guys stay with us, it's not one season, is it? It's often several seasons. No, I think we still have very special relationships with most of the guys. You know, Jim was on the phone this week, Jim Moody. And what would it be? It's 22 years since Jim raced with us. But the connection's still there. No, Roger sent me a text last week. Hey, Clive, you know, it's 30, did he say it's 33 years since we finished 4th and 5th in the World Superbike round at Donington on our private 750. So just happy memories. So, like I say, everyone, I can't actually think of anybody, Jamie, but I'm not going to pick out one individual because I think they're all special. Anyone gives gas, leans over and puts the brakes on and opens that throttle, they're special.
That'll do. Looking at the future a little bit, where do you see, A, the TT, and B, the whole racing job going? And there's quite a lot changed over the last few years. We've gone, Grand Prix have gone 4-stroke. It looked like it was dying on its feet, and then it's made a real comeback to the point that World Superbike looks almost like a poor relation a little bit now. They're going through the doldrums in terms of regulations and grid numbers and all the rest of it. BSB, on the other hand, is having a fantastic time of it at the minute, notwithstanding the fact that we're down with the COVID thing, but they've, over the last few years, had record attendances both on track and in the bleachers. So where do you see the job going? Yeah, you're an electric bike fan, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an electric bike fan. I've certainly helped Bruce and John when they've ridden the Mugen with the electric bike in terms of helping with them suspension and so on and setting them up for them. But if that's coming, it will come. And I love motorcycles. They've still got 2 wheels and so on. But I think we're a little way off that yet. And there was to be no electric bike TT, as you know, this year anyway. Had the TT run, the electric bike was out of the calendar. But I still see the TT itself personally going from strength to strength. I mean, Paul Phillips has had a hold of it now for 10 years or so, and Paul's done an incredible job, along with the team behind him, but of the innovation and the changes and the bringing the traffic along to the Manx. And I think they've got so many fresh and new ideas for the event still that we haven't seen everything. The TT is going to keep going from strength to strength, and perhaps a bigger overall family feel there, and bring more families, not just the individual riders and the bikers. Yeah, it's going forward. It's going that way.
I might be speaking out of turn a little bit here. I know your hair's going a bit grey now, but the little ones on the back of your neck are still standing up they're still standing up when you talk about racing, aren't they?
Absolutely, these ones here, absolutely, buddy. Yeah, I just love it. Does it? Well, I'm sure it comes across, Jamie. Yeah, we're passionate, you and I. We're obsessed.
Yeah, good lad. Listen, Clive, you can get back to work now. I know you're still open there, and you're still down at the shop. And there's probably still punters wanting to buy spares and bikes. So thanks for having a chat with us. Very interesting. I mean, you're in this area, at least in Yorkshire. I mean, a lot of people have heard of you, but Padgett's a legendary around these parts. So thanks, mate.
Jamie, thank you. May I say one last thing?
Go on.
My granddaughters will love this. May I say hello to Lexi Blake and Francesca? Thank you, guys.
Of course you can.
They will love it. They'll be peeking. Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Thanks, David.